Welcome to Entrepreneur, a podcast for entrepreneurs doing business and life God's way. Each week, we discuss biblical and practical tips to improve your mind, business, spirit, and finances. Listen along as I speak with special guests on how to thrive in all aspects of life. Hi, I'm Edna, a certified John Maxwell executive coach and trainer and founder of Favor and Wealth, where we help the good guys win. So tune in as we bring on the light. Well, hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and thank you for tuning in to the Entrepreneur Podcast, Doing Business and Life God's Way. I am so excited that you guys tuned in today. I know you guys are coming from many parts of the world, and again, just truly honored that you guys took some time to listen to one of my special guests that I'm excited to introduce in a second here. Like I said, I'm bringing people from all walks of life, from all sectors of the marketplace. And today I happen to have a children's book author on this show. And today we're going to talk to her about her journey in developing this project. And I call it project, but this book or this gift. And just get to know her a little bit better and how you can connect with her. And I know she's going to be sharing some insights on how she incorporates biblical principles in her business and just see the things that she's doing. And so I'm really looking forward to this. Before I bring her on and chats about her stuff, I kind of want to let you guys know how I met Teresa. We are part of the same group for Christian business owners doing business with a purpose. And like I said, I mentioned this before in a few episodes, and that, I like surrounding myself with people who have the heart of God and doing amazing things, not just in the marketplace, but also in the kingdom. So I'm just going to take the time to introduce Mrs. Teresa Fink, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about herself and her family, where she's based in. Can tell us where you're located, and talk to us about your book, Teresa.
Okay. My name is Teresa Fink, and I was actually born and raised in Columbia, Missouri. Oh. But when I married my husband, he got a job offer here in Hutchinson, Kansas. And so we got married May 1st, didn't have a place to live. So we came out to Hutchinson May 2nd to find a place to live.
Wow.
Went back home a couple of weeks for him to finish grad school, graduate grad school. We went on our honeymoon, and then we moved out to Hutchinson June at the end of May, and he started his job June 1st, and we've been here ever since. We were in an apartment for 6 months and then moved into our house, and we've been in this house ever since. So I've only lived in 2 houses my entire life. So, which is
wow.
Yeah. So I grew up, was there for 24 years and then went to the apartment, and then been in this house for 26 and a half years now. So
wow.
Yeah, that's unusual.
That is unusual and very impressive. To say that you must like your neighborhood. You must like the area that you live in.
Well, I wanted to move out of here in about year 10, but we just didn't have the finances to handle that. So we're still here.
That's okay. That's okay.
That's a lot of memories now. So,
Yeah. No. I am just thrilled to have you here, Teresa. I'm an author myself, and and I know for someone to spend the time and resources to develop something creative, I look at it as an art. Writing a book is an art. It's something that I think is needed. And the fact that I'm a new mom, and so my baby girl, she's turning 1. And, I started, I didn't really read children's books, but since she was a baby, even though she can't really read or understand yet, I would read her books, and so I have tons of children's books in my, our nursery. And when I found out you're a children's book author, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great, because I know there are moms who are always looking for new books. I love books. I think books are so much better than video. I guess I'm classical. I think books are great, and you know, and you can learn. And I love, you know, my daughter. She just turns the pages even if she doesn't know what she's doing yet. And so, can you tell us a little bit about your book? How you know how you came about it? And guys, it's called "You're Not Fat," and it's spelled EWE''RE. Not fat. That's a very interesting title, Teresa. Can you tell us a little bit about how that title came about and what this book is about?
Yeah. So my husband, I'm actually a mom of 4.
Okay.
So all are college age and up. So
yeah.
But I've always loved books, and I tried to instill that love of books into my children. So unfortunately, it worked. But this one actually came about a number of years ago. My husband's cousin was being babysat by a woman that was a bit maybe larger than most, and one day he was sitting on her lap and he said, you're not fat, you're fluffy. And so
that's so mean. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, actually, I thought it was really sweet that he put it that way.
I know.
You know, for so many people that has just really been a very sore topic. So, and it was a really sweet way of him saying that he really who she was, no matter what size she was. So that kind of stuck in my brain over the years. And I did a course for the Institute of Children's Writers that I started in 2003. And so one of my topics was to write a children's story. Wow. And so that just kept coming back. So I kind of wrote it with a little lamb in mind who is greedy and wants to get the best grass on a special hill. And so she leaves the flock, and then she overhears somebody saying some mean things about being fat. And she realizes that she is kind of in a dangerous position because she left the flock and is all by herself. So she hides. And then later her best friend finds her and tells her that she's not actually fat. So, but anyway, so it's all about self-esteem and about being foolish and, you know, really learning your lesson and not just assuming that people are talking about you when you hear something, because that's a very big problem, especially these days, it seems.
Yeah. You know, Teresa, I love the message of that, especially with kids, you know, self-esteem. I think I remember I went through a self-esteem issues when I was growing up. And I think it's a common thing because of, you know, people are mean sometimes, you know, and I was bullied growing up when I was a kid. And my gosh, like you were too as well. Okay, yeah. So So I love that message. I'm gonna get a copy for my daughter actually. Okay, when does the you said you're working with your publisher? When does the book go when is it gonna be ready?
Well, I'm talking to a publisher right now about getting it printed, so I'm not sure exactly when it's going to be ready yet, but I'm hoping by the end of this year.
Wonderful.
So,
wonderful.
Yeah, but I wanted a story that not just the kids, that it would be good for the kids, teach them self-esteem, but also for those that would be reading it to the kids would be able to get that message and maybe feel like, okay, I get the story, I get the meaning. So it's more. You know, it's more for all ages, but aimed at children specifically, because I really wanted it as a picture book. So
yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. That's good. I love that. And like I said, you're right. Self-esteem isn't just for young kids, as you know. Grown folks also have to deal with that on a regular basis. Okay, so you know, is this your first book? I guess you said you're part of some. It is your first book. Okay.
It is. I've been published before in different newsletters and things like that for adults. And I helped with my high school yearbook and college yearbook. So I have been published before, but this will be my first official children's book.
Got it. What's your background, Teresa? Can you tell us a little bit, talk about your professional background? Like, what did what was your profession? And then kind of go from there.
Well, I went to school for human development and family studies. Okay. And then I was a series portrait photographer for a number of years. When my first 3 were little, I stopped doing that when my third child was about a year, a little over a year and a half maybe. So And then I just became a stay-at-home mom because it was too expensive to pay for daycare. And so I was just like, all of my money was going to go for daycare. So I didn't see any point. I had kids so that I could be with my children.
So good.
And raise them to be who I wanted them to be. I didn't want to be handing them over every morning and then picking them up every night. So I wanted to be really involved in their lives. So I was a stay-at-home mom for a number of years. And then when I did go back to work outside the home, I started working as a teacher's aide in a preschool classroom and parents' day out. And then I morphed into a receptionist. And so that's kind of what I'm a receptionist at a senior center, still with that same company.
Yeah.
So I started out with the preschoolers and ended up with the seniors. So I've run the gamut.
That's right.
With the sports department and and the enrichment, leisure arts and stuff. So I helped my kids. They were all in 4-H, so I was craft leader for a number of years with them. I just really like the arts and crafts type stuff and creating. So that's where the writing comes in.
I love that. I love that. And then the fact that you prioritize your kids, I'm really big when it comes to, especially because I know how the education system is, and the things that are happening, don't even get me started there, regarding all of that. But, I think motherhood, like I said, I'm just a new mom and I just have a really found new respect, from, I have a mom obviously, but you don't really know what it's like to be a mom until you become a mom, if that makes sense. Because you're like, oh yeah, it's easy. It can't be that hard,
Oh yeah. And all those things, say, as a mom, I would never do that.
Exactly.
And you're like, okay, I didn't know what I was talking about.
Yes. Oh, how did you do this 3 times? Like, my gosh, how in the world? I'm like, how do you do this? How do you get enough? And, by the grace of God, the Lord has been helping me through this transition. Like I said, my baby girl is, she's turning 1 next week, actually. And I'm just like, in the beginning, I was like, no one told me how hard this was. I was like, my house is a mess. I haven't showered for weeks. What's going on? So, I love that.
The world, and the only one that doesn't come with a manual of any kind.
Exactly. And then for those
except for the Bible.
Again, for those ladies who don't have children, I've been there understanding, it can't be that hard. That's what you say. But when you're in it, it's completely the opposite. Okay. Anyway, I love that, Teresa. I'm glad that you said 3 boys? You said 3 boys?
No, I have 2 boys and 2 girls. And I have a prayer warrior in heaven. So I did lose my boys.
Love that.
So
love this. You have an baby. No, absolutely. Well, thank you for telling us a little bit about yourself, your family, your book. I also know you're a distributor for, a health and wellness product. So I'm glad you're doing that as well. But, I want to know about your walk with God. How did you come to know Jesus?
I was born into a Roman Catholic family, and my parents were very, very devout Catholics, and they really did a wonderful job of setting an example at home of how Jesus and God, the Holy Trinity, needs to be present in our lives. They were also very dedicated to raising us Catholics, so they sent us to Catholic school despite the sacrifices that it required. My dad passed away when I was 12, but there was only one Catholic high school in the diocese, and it was a town away from me, so I drove every day to high school. About 45 minutes away each direction. So for 4 years we did that. And then I went to years of Catholic college, and then I went back to the University of Missouri when I ran out of money, basically. But all through that, I had, gone on retreats and had my parents' example, and, and of course the Catholic education that taught us too about having Jesus front and center. So
that's amazing. It sounds like you've known Jesus pretty much your whole life. That's what it sounds like, for the most part.
When I was a senior in high school, I went on a retreat called Teens Encounter Christ, also, shortened to TEC. So, and that was really a huge eye opener for me. I mean, I'd been on other retreats, but that really was when I was a senior in high school. Because of my depression after my dad passed away, and because of the bullying, there was a lot of lot of suicidal thoughts, actually. And so that retreat really changed my life around. And I credit that one for kind of saving my life.
What happened there? What you said that changed, like what happened in that retreat that kind of like, you know,
it really was a close encounter with Christ, and just, you know, and then because I had been bullied and had lost some friendships along the way, I developed some really close friendships over that weekend that really just kind of made me see myself in a new light, and kind of helped me appreciate me for who I was more than I had been. So
yeah, he showed you how beautiful you are, your identity in him, right? And that's so key. It's like, I love how the Lord does that. He'll just remind you how precious you are to him, and all the other stuff really don't matter, and it just kind of washes away. Like when you live for an audience of one, when you don't care about what people, society, what other people think, it's just, there's so much freedom in that. You're so new to being an author. Not new, well, technically, yeah, sort of, right? How long talk to us about that journey. How long did it take you to come up with the idea and to actually get a publisher? You know, how long was that process to come up with the book, the manuscript, all that stuff? Like, how did that process, how long was that?
Okay, so I started the Institute for Children's Literature course in 2003. In 2004, I had the children's story assignment. And so that's when I wrote that story. And I actually submitted it for a contest with Kansas Authors Club. And I believe it got second in the district. And the person who awarded me was the children's author herself. And she gave me some guidelines on how to edit it and make it even better. So for the next 5 years, I actually edited it, and to where I got it, where I really liked it. And then I just was, because my self-confidence, I still wasn't really strong. I didn't think I could handle the rejection. I really wanted a certain kind of illustration for the book. I just kind of set it aside thinking, I'll get it to a publisher, I'll get it to a publisher, I'll get it to a publisher, and just never did. And then I now have a personal lifestyle coach. And I was talking to her one day, and I said something about that I had written a story and I really wanted to get it printed into a picture book. And she said, I may have a publisher for you. So just within the last 4 to 6 weeks, I started, learning about how to get with a publisher and actually get it published. So
wow, Teresa.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So it's kind of fresh, it's still fresh, huh? The things that happened just literally happened, and now you're here on this podcast and you're talking about your book, and you see how God is like lining up your footsteps.
It's amazing how God controls the timing. He knew it back then. I wasn't ready for what was going to come, so he had me put it aside, and then he had me say something to my coach, and she happened to know a publisher. So it just really is
to know the publisher. I know.
Exactly. Yeah, it's all in God's timing. So I'm trusting him to make this happen.
I love that. And that's the kind of God that we serve. He's so strategic and so detailed, and he cares about every area of your life. And obviously, I'm really excited about this book because I believe this is going to be a game changer for you and your family. I just sense that in my spirit right now. So can you tell us a little bit about what is your why? Why do you do what you do, Teresa?
Well, I really because self-esteem has been such a huge issue for me pretty much all of my life. I really want to help. Back when I was taking the course and I was in Kansas Authors Club, and we would get together once a month and read our stories to each other. And one of the other authors said, Teresa, your stories really have a self-esteem theme in each one of them. So that's something that I'm really passionate about, helping others realize just how precious they are, and that they really need to believe in themselves, because they are a child of God, created by him, designed by him. And that's something I'm still working on myself, but
yeah. I think
that's all we work forever.
Yeah, so I think it's a never-ending thing, obviously, but to me, it's for me, I'd rather be called lowly than prideful, because God hates
Right.
prideful, you know. So, you know,
Yeah.
I'm definitely, you know, I think if anything, I think the Lord loves that, is that you, not that you have low self-esteem, but the fact that you don't think highly of yourself, you know.
Right.
To
I
the
want to have I want to have a humble self-confidence.
Exactly, exactly. And there's a huge difference, guys. Don't get me started on that. But yeah, absolutely. There's also called false humility, you know, which you don't want as well. Okay, so you know, I think I already know the answer, because you've been kind of saying the same thing over and over again. This is task, you know. 26 minutes, but what was your biggest challenge as you that you face as an author and as an entrepreneur? What would that challenge be? And how
The
did you overcome
self-confidence.
it? Yeah, I think we already know what you're gonna say. And how did you overcome it? Just let's make it plain. How did you overcome that?
I don't know that I've overcome it completely. Like I said, I think it's really something that's lifelong. So I'm working with a personal lifestyle coach that's helping me overcome it. I've been listening to other coaches for business training, and some of the things that he has been saying have really kind of been hitting me in the face and going, okay, I really need to change the way I'm thinking and really become a better version of myself. So I'm working on it.
Do you feel that having a coach is essential? Is it like made a
Yeah,
huge contribution to what you're doing right now?
that's been the game changer for me. It's actually been the game changer, totally. And you know, I've because I've struggled with self-esteem for so long, and because I tend to overthink things, she can help me really narrow things down and bring them into focus and tell me when I'm being ridiculous. And I know she's being brutally honest with me. I tell her that all the time, but it's something that I need to hear. And because I haven't actually met her in person. I've seen her, you know, over Zoom and things like that. And I've seen her in different groups, but I haven't actually met her in person. So, but we just connected, and I really appreciate her honesty. And it's something, because she's apart from me, when she's telling me this, I don't take it quite so personally. Because, you know, if my husband was to tell me some of this stuff, I would probably be quite offended and hurt and hold it against him. But because she's farther away and she's not, you know, so close to me, it's easier for me to take.
Absolutely, so. Absolutely. And that's what I love about technology too. It's like, really, like, this is awesome. And you'll be able to talk to people regardless of wherever they are. And, you know, yeah, coaching, absolutely. And me being a coach myself, like, I have a coach. You know, you can't be a coach and not have a coach, because I know it works. You know, I know for a fact that you know, Teresa, I don't know if you know this, but I hired my first coach when I was 19 years old. I was still in college, and I hired an executive coach. And I remember I paid $5,800 that I didn't have. I used borrowed money through GE financing, I remember. And she was a career coach. And I would go to the Galleria. I don't know if you've ever been to Houston, but the Galleria area is like a nice ritzy area. I would go to the Galleria as a 19-year-old girl, okay, young lady, okay. And I would go into this coaching sessions with her name was Kathleen Klein. I can never forget her. And I would go in and I see all these, you know, middle-aged white males coming out with their executive suits. And I'm here, this young kid, you know, with a backpack, you know, going in there. And I would get invited to these meetings, and all these executives and CEOs were around me. And I'm just the only female, the youngest student, and the only minority, I'm not kidding, in this particular session. But it transformed my mind. It helped me look at things differently. And I, like, by the time I graduated college, I had like 5 amazing offers, you know, and because I had a coach to time to time, how to negotiate, all that good stuff. And I had that confidence because I was being mentored by someone who knew what they were talking about. And there's something about not having to learn from your own personal experience and learning from someone else's experience. You know, there's I don't know where I heard this from, but I heard, because like I said, I listen to a lot of people who inspire me. And one of the things that I've heard was that in life, you can learn from 2 things. You can learn from experience or mentors. And mentors is less painful than
Yeah,
experience, you know, because
definitely.
right. And so you'll save so much time, so much money. And, you know, I love that you have, you know, that you have a coach, and it really does make a huge difference, because some things you cannot see because you're in it. But if
Right.
someone from an outside perspective, they could see from within, and it really, I'm sure, as you know, it really will transform and change the trajectory of whatever it is that you're doing, your goals, your business, you know, your life, so forth. So can you give us an example, you know, speaking of, I guess just like progressing in life, like how would you uh stay, you know, having biblical principles, and I know you're, you know, you're devout Christian, and you know Jesus, like knowing the word of God, knowing what Jesus teaches, like how does knowing that and incorporating the things you learn from that into your business, into your life, how has it, first of all, how do you do that, and how does it affect your life for the better, or business for the better?
Trust in God has really, and in his plan, has been huge for me all along. So, you know, every step of the way, because of the things that I've dealt with, because of my father passing away when I was 12, because of the depression and suicidal thoughts, I've really had to rely on God and my faith and his timing. And I know, I mean, I had a lot of health issues when I was a baby, and my mom always said, "You're here for a purpose. You're here for a purpose. You know, you could have died a long time ago, but God kept you alive. So he's got a purpose, a special plan for you. And it's just up to you to figure out what that plan is and bring it to life." So trust in God and knowing that he has a purpose for me has really guided me and help keep me going all this time. I really, the golden rule is another one I try to really live by. You know, treat others as you want to be treated. Kindness and encouragement goes a lot farther than, you know, shaming and
Yeah.
being mean, cruel, being the victim of bullying. I don't like, you know, and I always taught my kids, you better include everyone. You better include everyone. Don't be mean. So that's just something that really has been, you know, very present in my life throughout. So, you know, and then growing Profit with a Purpose. We've lived paycheck to paycheck for so long. And so I want my book and my health and wellness industry job to really help me grow Profit with a Purpose, so that I can then benefit other people. I have a love for homeless veterans. I really have a great respect for all the things that the veterans have sacrificed for us. So I would love to help them. I would love to help unwed mothers who are feeling lost and alone and have nowhere to turn. There's so many different things that I want to do. The sex trafficking victims that, you
Yes.
know, is rampant right now. I
Yes.
would love to help them in whatever way I can. So I really want to grow that Profit with a Purpose, so that I can put that out there and help as many people as possible.
Yeah, I love that, you know, loving, treating others, you know, the way you want to be treated. Um and you know, one of, you talked earlier, you talked about, so you said, what were the things you want to help with? You said better, is it homeless veterans? Is that what you said?
Yeah, homeless veterans.
Do you have a military in your family or something, or?
Oh, yes. Yeah, my mom was in the Air Force. She was a stewardess in the Air Force in the 1950s. My dad was in the National Guard. My sister was in the Air Force. Her husband was a career Air Force man. I have a cousin's son right now in the Marines. I had uncles that were in the Army on both sides of the family. I've had a cousin that's been in the Navy for years. So we have military throughout our family. I think the only branch we haven't hit, perhaps, oh, and I have an uncle that was in the Navy too, is perhaps the Coast Guard. But my son was trying to get into the Coast Guard Academy at one point. So I even feel like we touched on that, even though he didn't actually make it in. So we've kind of got military throughout the family. So both sides.
Well, that breaks my heart so happy, because my husband's in the military. He's been in the military for 24 years actually, and so I love that you
Well,
do
thank
that.
you for his service for me, please.
I sure
I
will.
really appreciate all the sacrifices that you and he have made.
I know, I can't even take full credit, because like I said, we've only been married for 2 years, actually, No, more
Okay.
than that, like almost 3 years. But everyone's like, thank you for your service. I'm like, no, thank him for his service because he's in his service a lot longer. I got it kind of easy because I know
for the last several years. So
I know. But absolutely. I'm glad you have a heart for that. Sex trafficking, you mentioned that. I have a heart for that as well. I actually serve several sex trafficking ministries, and I love supporting people like you who has the same heart for the things that matter to God. I believe, God wants people to have a home. I believe God doesn't want us to be in bondage or in any form of slavery. The things that you do is for the community and what your purpose for your business.
And you notice all those three that I mentioned, the homeless veterans, the unwed mothers, and the sex trafficking victims all have self-esteem issues.
So good. Yeah,
again, that's self-esteem. I'm really passionate about building up self-esteem.
That is so good, Teresa. And you know your lane, and that's the thing is you know your lane. You know what you're called to. You know that what you have a heart for. You know what grieves you. You know what upsets you when you see people with lose that. And that I love that you're truly walking in your purpose. And I truly believe, Teresa, and mark my words, you're going to get provision for that purpose because when you know what you're called for, you're anointed for it, obviously. Because a lot of what people don't understand is your biggest ministry is where you have bled. So if you have gone through all those trials and testings and tribulation when it comes to self-esteem, I really truly believe in my heart that it's not about you, it's about the people you're going to help, through your lessons learned that you learned from that experience. So I'm really excited about your book. I'm really excited about your business. And I know this is just going to be one of many avenues for you to generate income, as long as you stay in your lane and you focus on self-esteem, which I'm sure you'll probably have something similar to answer when I ask you the next question, which is if you can share one wisdom nugget to people who are struggling right now with self-esteem, right? I want to change the question because I said struggling entrepreneurs, people who are struggling with self-esteem, what would that advice be?
Be coachable. Listen to multiple advisors. Go to the Bible. Read the Bible. Be as coachable as possible. Listen to them when they tell you that you are worthy of where you're at and you are worthy of what you're doing, because God did create you for a purpose. So, but being coachable is one of my big strengths. So.
Right. And I know that's the one thing that you did, like you said earlier, that changed the trajectory of your life and help improve and get you to now you are on a podcast. You have a book that is about to be published, and I understand that you're out there, basically showing people about, your gifts and talents, via Facebook. I know Facebook Live. I was reading your review, looking at your profile a little bit and just, reading your submission, and I've been I like to do that first. It's part of my I love learning about people before they come on. So I do a little bit of my homework, and I'm so excited that you're doing what you're called. Go ahead.
How far you went back, but today will actually be day 392 of consecutive Facebook Lives.
Wow. That is called discipline and commitment. And again, bravo. That is me clapping for you guys who do not see me on video. I am clapping. That is what that noise is. But yeah, I love that, Teresa. I know I can't wait to see where God takes you, a year from now. And I hope to have you back in a future episode and sharing what the Lord has done through your book and through the businesses that God will give you as far as ideas for. So if people are interested in connecting with you, how can they get a hold of you?
I'm on Facebook. I'm at Teresa Selby Fink. I have my maiden name in there so that high school friends and people that knew me when I was a child can find me. So Teresa Selby Fink, Selby. And then also they can email me at teresa.s.fink@gmail.com.
Wonderful. And I'm going to be putting her contact information in the description box below. So you're going to be able to connect with her. And at this time, Teresa, would you like to pray for our listeners? So whatever God puts in your heart.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Dear Jesus, thank you for being here with us today. Thank you for directing our conversation. Thank you for bringing those in who were called to listen in. I pray that each and every one of them feels your love and your desire to hold them close, and that they know how worthy they are and how special they are in your sight. Amen.
Amen. Well, Teresa, thank you for blessing us with your presence and your story. And when your book comes out, please send the link to me so I can let my followers know as well, and the listeners. And I'm also personally going to get a book. Like I already said, I'm very intrigued. You know, just the title in itself was like interesting. You what?
An autograph copy.
Yes.
So I have to send you an autographed copy.
Yes, do that, please. That would make my heart so happy. And I'll be telling people, I knew her before she became famous. She was on my podcast, folks. And again, Teresa, I have nothing but speak blessings over you. And I know God is going to do some amazing things through you. You've gone through a lot, obviously, in your life. And one thing I can say, that everything that you went through wasn't in vain. And that God is truly going to use you to transform lives, especially when it comes to self-esteem. And I know that this is just the beginning of the things that the Lord is going to be doing. So I'm very excited to be part of your journey. I'm very excited to see where you go. And I hope that you keep in touch, you know, as you continue to, you know, progress in, you know, all your endeavors. So what's that?
I said, thank you very much for having me on here. I really enjoyed it.
I enjoyed having you too, Teresa. And for those of you guys who have tuned in, thank you for listening in for another episode of the Entrepreneur Podcast, where we bring good guys and they tell us how to do business and life God's way. Tune in next time for another episode every Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. And again, until then, keep shining. Talk to y'all soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us this week on Entrepreneur. Make sure to visit our website, favoritandwealth.com, for more information on our services. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or if you simply tell a friend about the show, that would help me out too. Also, check out my book, The Ugly Side of Sales, available on Amazon, where I share 7 of my secrets on how to win and grow business the right way. Until next time, keep shining.